Hi, Alan Schimmel here, day 2 at Jenkins World in Santa Clara. And I'm joined by Brian Dawson of CloudBees.
Hello.
Brian, welcome and thanks for joining us today. So, Brian, you're at CloudBees. You've been to
Yes,
a few
I have.
Jenkins World.
Yes, I have.
But by far, this is the biggest one we've ever done.
Absolutely, it's amazing to see the growth. I contrast back to I went to the first Jenkins user conference in San Francisco, and to see the movement from then to here,
it's got to be amazing.
Amazing.
It is. So there's a lot of things driving this growth, though, Brian, and that's what I want to talk to you about. I'm going to give you some of the cues, and we're going to play this game. I'm going to give you the cue. You're going to tell me how important it is, why, what, when, whatever you'd like, okay? So the first cue I want to give you is the growth of CD versus CI, right? Jenkins was primarily known as a CI tool, but now, hey, man, it's all about the CD, or a lot of it. What do you think?
So my cue, how long do we have? So the growth of CI versus CD. So, I do think what has happened in software development sort of spawned by the excitement and rush around agile principles and processes and extreme programming, adoption of Scrum, upstream has sort of created pressure to begin to extend that value stream and the value gain from accelerated delivery and agility all the way through. So it's only sort of been natural that, as an extension or in support of extreme programming, we adopted continuous integration. We found value there. We now want to push downstream further. Right. And I would argue that meanwhile, we have what we're calling the application economy or the market demands of customers also pulling.
Their expectations of. So this reminds me of, I don't know if you ever read The Goal. It's really what the Phoenix Project is based on, right?
Yes.
Gene took The Goal, which was for manufacturing, and adopted it to IT in the Phoenix Project. But in The Goal, he talks about bottlenecks, resource constraints, and one of the lessons there is that once you open up a bottleneck or a resource constraint at some point in the pipeline, or you're going to find the next one, right? It pushes to the next one. And it does no good to open this up if the next one is just going to bottleneck you.
Right. And
I think that's CI to CD, right?
CI to CD, and oftentimes you don't realize what the downstream bottleneck is until you remove the upstream bottleneck. Another term that we've used at CloudBees is this idea of impedance mismatch.
Yeah.
Right? Or you look at your adoption of Agile and the broken definition of done, right? And really starting to realize that you've removed some upfront impedance, but now there's a mismatch between what you're doing upstream and doing downstream. And in fact, sometimes by increasing upstream flow but not removing your downstream bottlenecks, you can worsen the problem.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right, next cue.
Yes. All right.
DevOps Express. What's it all about? What are you thinking?
Well, DevOps Express is actually pretty exciting. DevOps Express, while I'm not one of the core participants, I think what CloudBees and the partners have chosen to do hits right where my heart's at, right? And I'll say a couple of things. First is, while we call it Dev and Ops, I always consider that a misnomer, because if you're talking about increasing the flow of work through the system so that you can deliver more reliable software, more secure software, possibly faster, requires all participants. So it's not just Dev and Ops, it's going from concept to customer. Part of enabling that is you have to look at your implementation of your tools and technology solutions as needing to extend beyond commit to deploy, right?
Absolutely.
But rather, how do we involve what the originating work item was? How do we provide the traceability from that work item through our continuous integration process to our pre-prod deployment to our prod deployment, so that we're ensuring we always have confidence downstream that the right thing was done upstream, and we can trust it. And so I think what we're doing here, and we get a lot of, from the culture standpoint, where do I start? How do I influence people? Right? That's a difficult one. I do argue, though, that the other question, that the easiest thing to impact in terms of people, process, and tools is the tools.
Yeah.
That becomes.
I agree with you. I think tools are the easy one.
That becomes our orchestration backbone for a transformation, right? So. and as people try to connect across silos, different tools together to put together a continuous pipeline, there's a lot of questions and confusion. What DevOps Express will do for the market is sort of go, here's a number of trusted experts with trusted tools and trusted solutions that you can use as a starting point or a reference implementation to quickly address your needs, right?
And we know they work together, right? Yeah. It rather than going a la carte, right. You're getting something that goes. Brian, we're almost out of time, believe it or not, because these things go. But I want to ask one more question.
Yeah.
Where do you see Jenkins World 3, 4, 5 years from now? Where do you see the market 3, 4, 5 years from now?
I see Jenkins as open source software as truly establishing itself as not just the domain of build and release admins, not just the domain of the left-hand side of the process or development tools, but really being recognized that due to its flexibility, its power of integration, that it is the best fit tool for the orchestration backbone of the continuous delivery and DevOps process, right? But what I also do see in 5 years that I believe pretty strongly is along with us becoming the backbone, or Jenkins being recognized as the backbone, not us, that term DevOps will start to fall away, right? And it won't be that we're calling Jenkins a DevOps tool at Jenkins World,
right?
But rather, we're just calling Jenkins the tool that you need to orchestrate a continuous software development process, which will be recognized as the proper way to do things.
Excellent. Brian Dawkins, thanks for joining us on DevOps TV here at Jenkins World.
Yeah.
You're presenting at a few of our CD Summit, Jenkins Days, DevOps Connect events.
Absolutely, yes.
So look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah.
You can check out where Brian's speaking at DevOpsConnect.com. You could look it up and see which cities Brian's coming to. But I've been lucky enough to actually sit in some of your presentations.
Oh, you have? Okay,
in LA last year. I think we did one.
That's right, yeah.
So I know you do a good job with that. I highly recommend it. And hey, man, keep doing what you're doing. We love what you guys do at CloudBees, and I know you're making it happen there.
Awesome. Thank you,
man.
I appreciate it.
All right. Brian Dawson, CloudBees here at Jenkins World.